The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. Rumi.
I fear not the dark itself, but what may lurk within it. Welcome to Lurk, bringing you creepy, strange, and bone-chilling stories, with your host, Jamie Jackson.
Hey lurkers, welcome back to Lurk, where love doesn't always end at death and some connections refuse to stay buried. Tonight's episode is a special Valentine's Day journey into the eerie, the intimate, and the eternal. We're talking about soulmates, twin flames, and the idea that some loves don't begin in this lifetime and don't always end in it either. And before you ask, ew, is this a kissing podcast? 3 million points to the person who catches that reference and emails me first. The answer is no, there is no kissing here, and there are ghosts and a couple of weird stories from history. Whether you're spending Valentine's Day with a partner, a ghost, or a glass of wine and unresolved feelings, guess which one I'm going to spend it with? This one's for you. So dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's get lurking. Let's start with the idea most people recognize, the soulmate. Across cultures and centuries, soulmates are believed to be souls who recognize each other across time. A soulmate isn't always romantic. That reminds me of a friend I had in college who knew this simple thing, as she was certain another classmate of ours, who was a gay man, was her platonic soulmate. But he didn't agree with that. He was wrong, by the way. Soulmates can be friends. They can be family members, mentors, or lovers who arrive exactly when your life is about to change. Sometimes they arrive and they're the reason for the changes. The defining trait of a soulmate connection is familiarity. People often describe it as a feeling like coming home, even if they've just met. Conversation flows easily. Trust forms quickly. Silence feels comfortable instead of awkward. Many believe soulmates have shared past lives together. Lovers in one life may return as spouses, friends, or even strangers in another life. That's my personal opinion about them. I believe a soulmate is someone that you've lived another life with, probably more than once. I can also say that you'll know when you meet one. I also don't buy the whole thing about a soulmate being the missing part of yourself. You don't need a soulmate to complete you. You are a complete person without a soulmate. But a soulmate certainly enhances what's inside you. There are actually 3 soulmate origin myths. The first is Plato's myth of origin. In Plato's Symposium, Aristophanes explains that humans originally had 4 arms and 4 legs, but Zeus split them in half, creating a lifelong urge to find their other half, to become whole again. This lends to the thought that you need a soulmate for completion, which is BS. The invisible string theory suggests there is an unseeable fated connection that binds 2 people together across time and space, often comforting, but potentially leading to staying in unhealthy relationships. And finally, there's spiritual or karmic contracts. Some beliefs, including aspects of yoga philosophy, suggest soulmates are pairs who have contracted to meet across many lifetimes, though sometimes with the purpose of teaching hard lessons. This maybe is the one I believe the most out of these 3 origin myths. And in keeping with that theory, not all soulmates stay forever. Some arrive to teach a lesson, close a chapter, or awaken something dormant in you. And when they leave, they take a piece of you with them. But there's another type of connection, one that feels less gentle and maybe a little dangerous, but not in a good way. This is where the concept of the twin flame comes in. Twin flames, in my opinion, have just suddenly sprung up. I never heard of a twin flame until all of a sudden it's posted on Facebook all the time. So, I don't know. Twin flames are said to be two halves of the same soul, split across two bodies. Kind of like a soulmate. But unlike soulmates, twin flames don't bring peace, they bring fire. The connection is often immediate, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore. Twin flames mirror each other's deepest wounds, insecurities, and shadows. Being with them feels intoxicating and unbearable. These relationships are marked by extreme highs and devastating lows. Breakups are frequent. Reunions feel inevitable. Many twin flame connections involve a runner and a chaser. One pulls away in fear, while the other clings in desperation. It's not uncommon for twin flame relationships to border on obsession. Some spiritual traditions believe twin flames are not meant to stay together. Their purpose is not partnership, it's transformation. The relationship burns away illusions, ego, and emotional armor. What's left is the raw truth of who you are. And not everyone survives that kind of fire unchanged. While soulmates are often viewed as complementary, harmonious, and nurturing, twin flames are frequently described as intense, disruptive, and transformative, acting as a direct reflection of oneself. Now we move beyond this lifetime entirely, into the idea of past life love. Just a quick reminder, we did cover past lives in episode 125, Reincarnation Stories. So maybe go check that out. There's a couple of really cool stories about that on that episode. I personally believe in past lives, and I've had my own past life regression done with pretty interesting results. Honestly, this episode happened not only because it was Valentine's Day, but also because recently past life soulmates have been on my mind heavily. I even started writing a fictional book about it, and I haven't written anything in about 26 years. Anyway, many people believe souls reincarnate in groups, returning to each other again and again. Lovers separated by war, illness, betrayal, or death may meet again centuries later. Sometimes they recognize each other instantly. Other times, the connection feels heavy, aching, and unfinished. Past life lovers often experience an intense pull with no logical explanation. There may be immediate trust or immediate conflict. Strong emotion without clear cause. A sense of longing for something you can't even name. In some cases, these relationships feel doomed from the start. The same obstacles repeat across lifetimes until the lesson is learned. This is often called karmic love. Karmic relationships are intense, painful, and difficult to let go of. They force growth through heartbreak rather than comfort. Once the lesson is complete, the relationship often ends, sometimes abruptly. And yet, many report feeling the presence of these lovers long after they're gone. In dreams, in sudden memories that don't belong to this life, in places that feel charged with emotion for no clear reason. Throughout history, some of the most persistent hauntings are tied not to rage or violence, but to love. Love that was cut short, love that was forbidden, love that refused to accept death as an ending. Across paranormal lore, there are countless reports of lovers who refuse to move on. Ghosts who appear only to former partners, spirits that linger near anniversaries, bedrooms, or places of shared memory. Some widows report feeling a hand on theirs years after loss. Some lovers dream of the same departed person on the same night. Others hear voices calling their name when no one is there. Are these spirits bound by unfinished love, or echoes of emotional bonds too strong to break at death? Some paranormal researchers believe intense emotional connections can imprint on locations and people. Love, grief, and longing may be powerful enough to transcend time. One of the most famous lover hauntings comes from France, the story of Héloïse and Abelard. In the 12th century, philosopher Peter Abelard fell in love with his student, Héloïse. Their affair was discovered, punished brutally, and they were forced into religious lives apart. Even after death, legend says their spirits reunite at Père-Lachaise cemetery. Visitors report seeing two shadowy figures touching hands near their shared tomb. Flowers placed there are often found disturbed, as if someone has knelt beside them. In England, the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall is believed to be the ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole. She was accused of infidelity and imprisoned by her husband until her death. Her spirit appears drifting along staircases in a brown gown. Some believe she waits endlessly for a lover she was forbidden to see. Witnesses say her presence feels sorrowful, not angry. The photo of the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall was one of my first real ghost stories, and it helped me get completely hooked on the paranormal. In Mexico, La Llorona is one of the most well-known spectral figures in folklore. Her story varies, but it always begins with love and betrayal. I think every good ghost story does. After being abandoned by the man that she loved, she drowned her children in grief and madness. Now she wanders waterways crying for them. While she is often framed as monstrous, some believe she is a spirit trapped by unbearable loss. Her wails are said to grow louder near anniversaries and full moons. In New Orleans, the ghost of Madame Delphine Lalaurie is infamous, but lesser known is the story of her rumored lover. Some claim a male apparition appears near her former residence, pacing the courtyard late at night. Witnesses describe him as dressed in 19th century attire, appearing restless and searching. Paranormal investigators believe he may be bound not to the house, but to her. In Savannah, Georgia, one of the city's most haunted locations is the Sorrel Weed House. It's said that Matilda Sorrel threw herself from the balcony after discovering her husband's infidelity. Her husband later died by suicide on the same anniversary years later. Visitors report seeing a woman in period dress staring from the windows. Others report feeling an overwhelming wave of sadness in the upstairs rooms. Some believe the two are locked in an eternal loop, repeating their final grief again and again. I've been to the Sorrel Weed House. Very creepy vibe. Savannah in general. I would love to go back to Savannah. In Chicago, Resurrection Mary is one of the most famous hitchhiking ghosts in America. She appears as a young woman in a white dress, often along Archer Avenue. Drivers report picking her up late at night. She asks to be taken to Resurrection Cemetery, and as the car approaches the gates, she vanishes. Some believe she died after a dance, possibly while waiting for, or leaving, a lover. Others say she is eternally searching for someone who never came back for her. In Japan, the concept of yurei often ties spirits to unresolved emotional bonds. Lovers who die with strong attachments are said to return wearing white burial garments. They appear silently, often in places of intimacy, bedrooms, doorways, or quiet streets. Japanese folklore warns that love can be one of the strongest anchors to the living world. There are also modern reports, stories without centuries of distance. Widows who feel someone lying beside them at night, people who smell a former lover's perfume years after their death, phones that ring from disconnected numbers, dreams that are so vivid they feel like visits rather than memories. This phenomenon is sometimes called a love echo, a residual presence replaying moments of longing, waiting, or farewell. Others believe these are intelligent hauntings, spirits who remain by choice, bound by devotion rather than anger. Which brings us back to soulmates and past lives. If souls return again and again, what happens when one returns and the other doesn't? Do they wait? Do they linger? Or do they find each other in dreams, whispers, and moments just before sleep? Maybe some hauntings aren't warnings. Maybe they're vigils. Maybe the spirit isn't trying to scare anyone away. Maybe they're just waiting to be recognized. Remember, love is one of the most powerful forces we know. Strong enough to shape lives, and strong enough to destroy them. And maybe strong enough to survive death. If you've ever felt watched in a loving way, if you've dreamed of someone who felt too real to be in imagination, if a place feels heavy with longing instead of fear, you might not be alone. Which raises a chilling Valentine's Day question. Can one person be a soulmate, a twin flame, and a past life lover? Some believe yes, that a soul you've loved across many lifetimes may return again and again, wearing different faces, playing different roles. Others believe we meet different souls for different reasons. One to awaken us, one to destroy what no longer serves us, and one to stay. And sometimes, one to haunt us. Maybe love isn't about forever. Maybe it's about evolution. Across history, some love stories are remembered not because they were happy, but because they were inevitable. These are the kinds of connections people describe as soulmates. Not perfect, not easy, but unmistakable. In 2007, archaeologists of Mantua, Italy, uncovered a burial dating back nearly 6,000 years. Inside the grave were two skeletons, locked face to face, arms wrapped around each other. The couple became known as the lovers of Valdaro. Forensic analysis showed they were a young man and woman, both in their late teens or early 20s. There were no signs of violence or trauma. They were intentionally buried together in an embrace. Some believe they died at the same time. Others believe one followed the other in death. Whatever happened, someone chose to lay them to rest holding each other. As if separation, even in death, was unthinkable. In 17th century India, Emperor Shah Jahan fell deeply in love with Mumtaz Mahal. She was not just his wife, but his closest advisor and constant companion. She died giving birth to their 14th child. God bless her. Her death devastated him. He withdrew from public life, his hair turning white within months. To honor her, he built the Taj Mahal, a mausoleum meant to last forever. Legend says he planned a second, black marble Taj for himself across the river. He never remarried, and when he died, he was buried beside her. Two souls reunited beneath one of the most enduring symbols of love that's ever been built. Poet Percy Bysshe Shelley and Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, shared an intense, unconventional bond. Their relationship was marked by passion, loss, and tragedy. Percy drowned at sea in 1822. When his body was cremated, his heart would not burn. Mary kept his preserved heart wrapped in silk for the rest of her life. She carried it with her wherever she went. And when she died, it was found among her possessions, still there. Some bonds refuse to decay. One of Percy Bysshe Shelley's poems is one of my favorites, called Love's Philosophy, so I'm going to share it. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single. All things, by a law divine, in one spirit meet and mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasped the earth, and the moonbeams kissed the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me? Also, I want to note that if I'm carrying around some guy's heart, it's probably because I took it out of him myself. Moving on. In the 1950s, a woman named Virginia Tighe underwent hypnosis. Under regression, she claimed to be Bridie Murphy, a woman who lived in 19th century Ireland. She described her husband, her home, and her death in striking detail. Researchers later confirmed many of the locations and records she described. What unsettled people the most wasn't the historical accuracy, but the emotion. She spoke of her husband with longing and grief as if he had only just been lost. Some believe soulmate bonds carry emotional memory across lifetimes. Modern soulmate stories don't always involve royalty or legend. Many people report meeting someone and feeling instant recognition. Not attraction, not chemistry, recognition. They say things like, "I feel like I've known you forever," or "It feels like we're picking up where we left off." Or they say that the moment they met someone, they felt something almost electric, like a spark, a tingle, and the inability to get the person out of their head no matter how hard they try. Sometimes these connections last decades, sometimes only weeks, but they are remembered for a lifetime. Maybe soulmates aren't about forever. Maybe they're about truth. And this is important. Maybe a soulmate is simply the person who reminds your soul who it used to be and who it's capable of becoming. Some come to stay, some come to teach, some come to break you open so something truer can take root. And some feel like home, even if you only pass through once. If you've ever loved someone who felt familiar from the first moment, if losing them felt like remembering something you were never meant to forget, you're not weak. You're not romanticizing pain. You might just be carrying a story older than this lifetime. Maybe love doesn't end. Maybe it just changes form. A memory, a dream, a presence you feel when the world goes quiet. And maybe the reason some loves hurt so much is because they were never meant to be contained by one lifetime alone. This Valentine's Day, whether you're holding someone close or holding on to a memory, know this. If a love changed you, it mattered. If it lingers, it meant something. And if you feel like part of your heart is still waiting, maybe it always has been. So this Valentine's Day, ask yourself, who in your life felt familiar from the start? Who changed you forever, even if they didn't stay? And who still lingers in dreams, memories, or the quiet moments when you're alone? Whether you believe in soulmates, twin flames, or past lives, most of us have loved someone who felt bigger than this lifetime. That's it for tonight's Valentine's Day episode of Lurk. If you've ever experienced a love that felt supernatural, karmic, or impossible to explain, we want to hear about it. Share your story at lurkpodcast.com, where you'll also find our blog, team info, and newsletter sign up. You can listen to Lurk on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever podcasts lurk. If this episode stirred something in you, leave a 5-star review, or share it with someone who still lives in your heart. Until next time, trust your instincts. Pay attention to the connections that feel too strong to be coincidence. Because, honestly, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And most of all, keep lurking.